Hello everyone, my name is Kitetsu and welcome back to my channel. So the first thing I've obviously got to say is yet another apology for the fact that my video output has decreased significantly. And that's twofold. Basically, the first reason is that I have my new job, which I've just started, and it's a lot more intense than I was anticipating. The second thing is that my PC has completely broken. The technicians are saying it's either an SSD fault or a motherboard fault, and anyway, you don't need to know that stuff, but I'm not using my actual setup here, it's someone else's, so big thanks to them for letting me use it. But yeah, that's the reason that I haven't been making videos. But enough of that, let's talk about the Beasts of Chaos Battletome, which is the reason you've clicked on this video. First of all, thank you very much Games Workshop for sending me a free copy. It's very much appreciated, as I'm sure you can imagine. But wow, what a book this is. Games Workshop don't tell me what to say in these videos. I can say whatever I want. I can be as critical as I want. People can watch my videos and value my honesty of the product. I'm not going to say it's fantastic if it isn't, but then again, you know that I'm quite enthusiastic about Age of Sigmar anyway, so, you know, take my opinion as it is. What I'm going to do is basically break this book down into 5 things I absolutely love, and then I'm going to talk about a few things I don't. And the first thing that really stands out to me that I really like is the fact that I feel it's just got a lot more thought put into it and a lot more depth and complexity than some of the other battle tomes out there, which, you know, the ones that haven't had a full release of models with them, like the Bone Splitters and Pestilence. This is a lot better. Those other books I just found very unsatisfying, and they kind of entertained me for a while, and then I thought, well, there's not really much to them. And I guess this is a bit of a theme of the second edition, that there's more strategy, there's more depth, there's more complexity, and it's slowly building up. But at the same time, if you really want to, you can just get a handful of models, use the free rules, and off you go. But I like the approach of being able to play it the way you want to play it. You can either go for the simple route, or you can pick up these new battle tomes like the Beasts of Chaos one. So yeah, that's the first thing I love about this book. There's just an awful lot to it. We've got battle traits, we've got summoning rules, there's 3 groups of command traits to pick from, 3 sets of artifacts of power, we've got 2 different spell laws, you can ally your forces with different factions within the Beasts of Chaos, we've got the All-Herd, the Darkwalkers, the Gabe Spawn, then there are some seriously cool warscroll battalions, if not for the rules then at least for the thematic awesomeness of them. I love the beastmen as a faction, and they've got so much potential from a story perspective that they needed to get this right, Games Workshop, and I think they definitely have. This is up there with one of my favourite battle tomes at the moment, and I guess how they play on the tabletop waits to be seen because I haven't played them yet, and in fact I don't actually have any of the models yet. But with the new Start Collecting set that's just been announced, that's basically got most of my favourite models of the beastmen in it anyway, so you know, we're good to go. So the number 2 thing I absolutely love about this book is you can dedicate your warherd to the gods of chaos. Your beastmen can all worship Slaanesh, Nurgle, Khorne or Tzeentch, and while I like Slaanesh the most, Khorne seem to have the best rules, but that doesn't really bother me. It's the fact that I can just paint them up as these frenzied Slaanesh worshipping slaughterers that makes me quite happy. Interesting fact, I think you will benefit from giving Gors a shield if you go with Khorne, because giving them dual blades makes them reroll hit rolls of 1. But that becomes redundant because the Mark of Khorne also gives them that ability. So give them all the +1 to their save, and then they can reroll hit rolls of 1 with the Mark of Khorne. So you've basically got the best of both worlds with a Gor that isn't too far off a Liberator. It's effectively going to have a 4+ save, hitting and wounding on 4s with rerolling 1s to hit. Then you factor in that 10 Gors is cheaper than 5 Liberators, which means you make up for Liberators having 2 wounds each. And on top of that, you double their attacks if you have a unit of 20 or more, which is pretty cool. I was also worried that the warscroll battalions would be super restrictive if you wanted to align your army with the Chaos Gods, but actually it's quite simple. You just need 1 hero and 3 units from a typically varied list. You don't have to splash out on a super huge army in order to fill out those battalions, and as for restrictions, they kind of make sense, and fortunately Slaanesh can basically take anything. I'm a little bit mystified as to why Khorne can't take Ungor, but you know, the raiders make sense, the Ungor doesn't, and it means if you buy the start collecting set, that means you can't use 10 of the models in it if you want to dedicate them to Khorne, so slightly strange, but that is what it is. The third thing I absolutely love about the book is the allegiance abilities. They've got this amazing synergy with the herdstone. You can set one up for free, and every battle round the range of the herdstone aura kind of increases by 6 inches. After the first round at least, that is. So it starts off with a range of 6 inches, then it goes to 12, then 18 and so on. But enemy units have to subtract 1 from their saves whilst within that aura, and your beastmen don't take battle shock tests too, which makes up for the fact they have pretty horrific bravery. 4 for an Ungor Raider and 5 for a Gore. Speaking of Ungors, I'm giving these guys bows. I don't even care if they only hit and wound on 4s. Having a Chaos faction with proper units of archers is something I've wanted since getting into Age of Sigmar. I didn't even realise you could build these guys this way, and I think it's because Games Workshop didn't let you search for Ungor Raiders until I think yesterday. And even when I did eventually find some of them, I don't think it showed them with bows. So the herdstone is awesome as it is, but it also has another super cool benefit thanks to the allegiance abilities. You can use it to perform a blood ritual. If you have a hero within 3 inches of the herdstone, it can pick any Beast of Chaos unit within 3 inches, and that includes itself, I guess, and you can inflict D3 mortal wounds on them. Why would you want to do that? Because for each wound you inflict, you get 1 point that can be spent on summoning. You also get 1 automatically at the start of the hero phase, which means you should average 3 points per turn and get a maximum of 4. The great thing there is you only need 10 points to summon the most expensive thing on the list, which means you could literally summon 3 Bulgors on your second turn if you are lucky. Another cool thing is they have an ambush allegiance ability. You've got the Stormcast that can teleport onto the battlefield, whereas Beasts of Chaos, they can appear on any table edge at the end of their first movement phase. And I think for every 1 unit you deploy on the battlefield, you can put 1 behind in reserve, which can then ambush. I think that's how it works at least. But then we've got the synergy with command traits, because if you want to give your general bestial cunning, then half of your ambushing force can arrive at the end of the second movement phase instead. The command traits in general are pretty cool too. You can add 1 to the general's wounds, you can remove the benefits of cover to all units within 12 inches of the general, and so on. There's tons of useful stuff, and I like the fact that it's going to be hard to choose which one you want to take and which one is best. Some Battletomes have this real weakness of only having 1 or 2 traits that are any good, and the rest are just basically rubbish and not used. That definitely does not appear to be the case with this book, which is very reassuring. As I mentioned earlier, you can also dedicate your army to the All Horde, the Dark Walkers or the Gavespawn, which is cool, and there's some great abilities there too. I haven't looked at them in super detail yet, but there are ways to increase summoning points, unbind extra spells, increase run rolls, reroll charges, etc. And then you get these cool and unique artifacts there too, so it's another cool layer of depth that you can add to your Beasts of Chaos army. Number 4, I like what they have done with the stat lines of the units, and I don't actually know what the stats of these units were before the Battletome came out, because I never played with any of the beastmen armies or units, and I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video on all of the warscrolls, because if they aren't already, then they will be completely free soon. But with my first look at them, they do look really great, and it gives you this very varied army that has a lot of uniqueness as to how it will play. I love the fact that you have your battle line troops that look super cool and are surprisingly hardy, then you have large units of archers and then super heavy hitters. On top of that, you've got your shamans, which can cast buffs and offensive spells, so the roles of everything within the army seems quite clear, and from what I've read so far, everything seems to have the rules and stat lines that you would want and expect. They don't feel ridiculously over or underpowered as of yet, but I guess time will tell how they play on the tabletop, and I haven't studied all of the war scrolls and tactical possibilities yet. It just feels pretty balanced so far, and I like the fact that lots of the cool units have a good trade-off between weaknesses and strengths, basically. Like I mentioned with the Gors, at first I was super disappointed. They've got a 5+ save, hitting and wounding on 4s, no rend, terrible bravery, you know, all of that sounds awful, but add a herdstone, align them with Khorne, give them shields, and they suddenly start looking great. I know Beasts of Chaos are kind of designed in theory around being a horde army, but I don't want them to be too weak individually or to have too many models to buy and paint. And you look at the beastmen and they're big and tough, they shouldn't be too weak, and I think they've struck that balance really well. With the variety of units and rules, you're going to have some nasty surprises in your army too. You've got your Sigors and your Gorgons and your Doom Bulls, and those are definitely some of my particular favourites at the moment, and I'm so glad you can build a Sigor or a Gorgon in the Start Collecting set. In my eyes, I think that that Start Collecting set is literally the perfect Beastman set. You've got Battleline in there, you've got a Behemoth, and you've also got a Leader, so overall it's a great place to start, and there are quite a few options as to how you're going to build those models too, so very cool. I'm not trying to sell that set to you, I haven't been told to say any of this, I just can't wait to get my hands on one of those sets, especially now I've been reading the book. And there's some serious damage output to be had from the Sigors and the Gorgons, but then the trade-off is that they're going to be magnets for enemy fire, and of course they're going to cost a lot of points, but worth it in my opinion. So that's my quick look at the rules, and I know there's a huge amount more in there to talk about, but number 5 that I really like about the book is the fact that we've got an extensive lore section with some incredible artwork. I haven't read too much of the lore yet, but mark my words, I can't wait to dig into it more. It sure does look detailed though, and the presentation and artwork helps bring it to life. It also covers where the beastmen came from and how they could exist before the dark gods had their eyes on the mortal realms. Okay, it seems pretty vague on that, but it also explains the different connections there are between the beasts of chaos and each of the chaos gods, which is really cool, and it sounds from my preliminary read like the poor beasts of chaos are mostly manipulated tools of the dark gods. But hopefully when I read into it more, we're going to get a bit more personality injected into them too. You also get all of those painting guides that you would expect in the current format of Battletomes, which is great. I quite often feel that it's a really missed opportunity with 40k codexes that they don't have these painting guides. Especially if, like me, you're quite fussy about making your figures look somewhat similar to those on the box. But was there anything I didn't like about this book so far? Well, it's not a criticism of the Battletome itself, because I think it's actually very good, but I would definitely have liked some new models, and the Beastman models actually look superb. I don't think they need updating at all for the most part, but it's always nice to see something new, and personally I would have loved a cool Beasts of Chaos character in there. I know that there's a lot of drawbacks to taking characters in the game itself, but from a story perspective you can't beat a good character with some cool story development. Then we've got the warscrolls. I think these are a lot better in 2nd edition. Now they're not half filled with empty space, which is great, but I think it would have been cool to see a full picture of the models shown with them instead of just these little snapshots. I do also think of the Battletome as mostly Battletome beastmen, but there are a lot of warscrolls for other Beasts of Chaos, and I guess that took a bit of getting used to. At first I wasn't sure how I felt about it because I didn't know how they would all tie together from a narrative perspective. Gors and other beastmen running around with warhounds and gargants and zangors kind of seems strange to me, but it definitely adds a huge amount of variety to the army, and when I start collecting these beastmen, it would be very cool to throw in a chaos spawn or two, and I've always loved the chaos gargant, so that would be cool to throw in one of those as well. I guess in the name of variety, it's only a good thing to have more units, and no one wants to see many models left in limbo, so I guess depending on your perspective, it's either a very good thing that they're doing this or it doesn't quite work, but I'm swaying more towards variety being a better thing now. And the more I think about it, the more I'm realizing how cool it's going to be that I can have my Slaanesh demons and the Bray herds and chaos spawn, and all of it can have the mark of Slaanesh, so that's going to be great. Anything else I didn't like? Not particularly yet. I think it's a great book overall. I'm super happy with it and I really recommend it. I can't wait to start collecting Beasts of Chaos now, but as for how good they play, I guess only time will tell, and we need to thoroughly playtest it as a community before I can commit to how great they are. But yeah, that's my fairly quick look at the Battletome. I know I could go into super more depth than that, but I was more interested in putting across my opinions and thoughts rather than doing a super detailed tactical breakdown. But anyway, that is it from me in this video, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe if you are new, and thank you so much to everyone who has helped me get to 10,000 subscribers. That feels absolutely mental, but I will see you guys really soon in the next video.